Hey, hello, and welcome to the show. It is time for John Park's Workshop. Here we are in the workshop. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for coming to hang out with me here today and build some stuff and refurbish some stuff and juggle. Who knows what else? I sure don't. We've got people over in our chats. Thanks for stopping by over in the YouTube chat, Dave Odessa. And then our Discord chat is a great place to check out if... Ooh, oh, that just disappeared. Hold on. Where are you, Discord? If you want to find the chat and you're somewhere where there doesn't seem to be one, such as Facebook, you can go to our Discord server. That's it right there. That is the live broadcast chat channel. That is Dr. Frankenstein right there. Look at this. Look at this GIF from Andy Calloway. It's it's waving Lars. Is that like one of those cats? Those good luck cats? I love it. Thank you. Yeah, so if you want to join all that fun right there, you can head to adafruit.it/discord. That's our URL shortener. It's like Adafruit, but a dot before the .it. I suppose that means we're registered in Italy. Is .it Italy? I think it is. Adafruit.it and then /discord. Look for that live broadcast chat channel. And thanks for, first of all, the amazing GIF there, Andy Calloway. Thanks for popping by. Liz, hello. And Paul Cutler, and Jim Hendrickson, and John Nodge, Thin Man, howdy. Hey, Todd Bott. Is this the live Jepcast chat channel? Indeed. So let's get on with the show. What I've got here today, I've got a coupon code for you so you can save some money in the store. I've got a recap of the Tuesday show. I've got a new CircuitPython Parsec, continuing with our Spice Invaders. I've got, what else? A juggling project, the continuing ESP Now Juggling Lights and Triggers project. I demoed that a bit last night on Show and Tell. I'll show you some of the underpinnings of that. As well as I have we'll look at some CAD, some fritzing, specifically some PCB CAD that I used to make an alternate version of it. So the version of the juggling balls that we'll look at can be made without a PCB quite easily, doing just a little bit of header soldering to make this little LED bolus. But we'll also take a look at an alternate version where you can order some PCBs to make wiring super simple. And there's probably other things I'm forgetting. Oh, and you know what? I want to do a little cleanup refurb project on this Monopod that I just found. Someone was giving away some stuff on the side of the road, and it included a really nice Manfrotto/Bogan monopod. It's in good shape, but I want to clean out some grit that's in there that's making the legs make terrible noises when I open them. So we'll pop that open and clean that up a little bit, and I'll show you the little ball head tripod adapter on the top of it. Super cool. So let's get on with it. We've got a coupon code. That's it right there, Jughead. Jughead will get you 10% off in the store today. This show has nothing to do with Archie Comics, but Jughead, that is the coupon code for the day. So what you want to do is head over to Adafruit to pick up some neat stuff. We have a couple of cool new things in the shop. Let me move that coupon code over to the side. If you take a look, new products right there, Raspberry Pi M2 hat plus compact edition. If you want to add a solid-state drive to your Raspberry Pi project, but you don't want to cover up some of the bits and bobs and parts, this is compatible with the official Raspberry Pi 5 case. You can see right there in that image, it's got a little M2.5 or M.2 drive, solid-state drive in there. That's a new product. That's $21.75, but you'll get 10% off if you use the coupon code Jughead. I believe it used to be you couldn't get discount on Raspberry Pi stuff, but that changed at one point, so you can save money even on that. We also have a refresh of this STM32 Feather. If you're interested in some STM32 hacking, that might be a good board for you to check out. What else? If you want to see all the new products, you can go to New Products, click on View All New Products, and you can see we've got some neat stuff in there. Anything we can send you, you can get 10% off on. That won't work on software or gift certificates or subscriptions, but that will work on things that we can put in the mail to you. And since I said mail, what about free stuff? Ever-changing free stuff that you can get in the mail if you order enough stuff from us. If you spend $99 or more, you'll get a free PCB coaster with the Adafruit logo on it. Very nice coaster. If you spend $149 or more, you'll get the coaster as well as a KB2040, perfect for keyboard projects, macro pad projects, other neat embedded little USB types of projects. And then if you spend $199 or more, you will get the coaster, the KB2040, as well as free continental US ground shipping with UPS. So those are some enticements there if you want to buy some stuff. But do not forget, 10% off for invoking the name of perhaps the comic character with the weirdest hat, Jughead. Dan the Geek points out, thank you Dan, Fruit Jam is in stock. So if you want to pick up, how many do we have? Fruit Jam. 43 of them in stock. Go pick up a Fruit Jam or two, maximum of 2 per customer. Save $4 roughly. So those are our coupon code and shopping notices for the day. Hey, how's the clipping? How's the microphone? I turned down input just a little bit more on Tuesday, and from what I could tell listening back, that may have finally hit the sweet spot to not clip the audio. So let me know. Over in the chat, Discord chat, Todd says, I recommend anyone who uses Raspberry Pis to not boot off or run off the SD card and instead run off an NVMe or USB SSD. So much faster. I haven't tried it yet, but Todd, thank you for the tip. Yeah, SD cards are neat, but you can run your OS off of faster stuff. And a little note there. Todd says he'll be blabbing about it more on the next episode of the Bootloader podcast. So stay tuned. We'll mention that when that comes up. Let's see. What else? Tuesday show. So on Tuesdays, oh, hey, C. Grover. I see you over there. Hey, Starman. Thanks for popping in. On Tuesdays, I have the Product Pick of the Week show, and that was the product pick this week. It was a magnetic sensor, magnetometer, compass, that sort of thing, 3-axis. Half off on Tuesday show, so if you can watch it during the show, there is a handsome reward if the product is something you want, because just during the show, the product is priced to sell. There's no coupon code, it's just slashed in half this week. Here's a little recap. Is the QMC 5883P magnetometer. So this is a digital compass, essentially, with I2C connectivity to your microcontroller. We have a nice, easy way to connect with STEMMA QT. I'm measuring the magnetic strength and position in X and Y here. Other axis on the right. It's a little off right now, and that's just because my calibration procedure is pretty crude, and there's probably a lot of magnets and things and metal in the space here. But you can see that's the general idea of what these are used for, is to measure the compass heading directions on the compass rows there, as well as incline and decline. So that right there is my product pick of the week this week. It is the QMC 5883P magnetometer. That was it. Next up, let's jump into a CircuitPython Parsec. CircuitPython Parsec. All right, on the CircuitPython Parsec today, it is the continuing saga of the development of this Spice Invaders game, as I'm calling it. And so far we've got, using a Nintendo-style controller, it's actually a Nintendo controller here over I2C, to control ship movement, to fire projectiles. We have an enemy ship. It's actually disappeared and off the screen right now, so I'm just going to restart the program. And last week we added collision detection of the projectile that we fire and the ship. So we're checking essentially the boundary, the bottom edge and the right and the left, to see if that coincides with the position of the projectile, and then we register a hit. So I thought for this week what we would do is actually reward the player for shooting the ship. So you can see here, when I miss the ship, the projectile disappears, and then we can fire one more. So we have to go off the edge to fire. We can't fire multiple projectiles. Now we'll also check to see if we've hit the ship, what we can do with the graphic of the ship. So boom, I hit it, and you can see there in the REPL it said boom, enemy destroyed. And we swapped the graphic out for a little sort of explosion pattern of lines. So we'll hit the ship again. You can see we get this nice little explosion pattern, which is actually pretty similar to Space Invaders. I haven't done that much finessing of the graphics yet, but the basic idea is when you hit the ship, it just becomes this sort of second graphic, this static second graphic of sort of explosion lines. And so the way that I'm doing that is we're still using the same collision detection code, but then I have this new function here called create explosion. And we are going to call that when there's a collision between the projectile and the enemy. And we just tell it the center position of the enemy, because it's where we want to emanate the explosion from. So we call it with center X, center Y. We create a little list, a little list here for explosion lines. It's empty at first. We calculate that center, and then we go and for each of the 10, I decided on 10 lines for the explosion. For each of those 10, we're going to create a line that goes in 36-degree increments, so we get 10 filling the whole circle. I have a little line length of 20 here, and then we create the endpoints of those, and then generate the display IO line by saying line equals line, and then the explosion center X, explosion center Y, the endpoint X, the endpoint Y, and then we're creating it with the color black there. We then append each of those lines to the screen group and then show those. Then after we have paused for half a second, so the explosion shows up for half a second and then disappears. We do two things. We clear all of those lines. So for each of those lines, we do a screen group remove to pull that off the screen, out of memory. And then we respawn the enemy. So I'm just putting the enemy back up at the top position there by recreating that graphic up at the top so that we can start over again. And so that is how you can create an explosion effect, a minimal one, inside of CircuitPython in our Spice Invaders game. And that is your CircuitPython Parsec. Question came in from the chat. What's the display you're using? Let me go to the full screen of that display. Actually, I love this display. This is called a Sharp memory display. It's a really unique display. It is not backlit. It's reflective only, so it's kind of like a modern version of a Game Boy display. It's very high resolution by comparison. Only does black and white. You can dither stuff to try to get grayscale. But it is a really nice clear display in particularly outdoors. Looks fantastic outdoors. You can play this at the bus stop if you want. Inspiration for this was the Playdate console from Panic, which is a little game console that I really love. Uses this exact display here. I believe it's 280 high and 400 wide, so it's a pretty nice high resolution display. And so we have a breakout for this called the Adafruit Sharp Memory Display. I believe the Pebble Watch, I think I just read this the other day, the Pebble Watch I think uses a smaller one, but a sharp memory display as well. I'm not sure what other places this is used, but it's a really lovely display. No good in the dark, however. You will, if you remember having to get a little worm light on your Game Boy back in the day, you'd need that to play this in the dark. There's no lighting. Sharp is the brand, John Nudge mentions, not just an apt description. Yeah, this is the electronics firm Sharp. So that's a Sharp memory display. I'll show it to you because if you recall, you can buy one and save 10%. It's not a cheap display. Sharp memory display. Oh, it looks like we do have the smaller one. Yeah, I think that's the one from the Pebble Watch. Oh, we're out of stock right now. Sorry, but yes, that's the display right there. Sharp memory display breakout, 2.7-inch, 400-240. You can either get it on DigiKey now if they have it in stock, or hit Notify Me and find out when these come back in stock. And maybe that'll coincide with getting a coupon. By the way, if you didn't know, I've got a coupon on this show. There's a coupon on 3D Hangouts, and there's a coupon during Ask an Engineer. So there's usually 3 times a week that you can get a coupon to use to get some stuff at a discount. All right. So I'm laughing because, by the way, it's hard to say Spice Invaders and not sound like that's some accent. Spice Invaders. Spice Invaders. Is that Appalachian? I don't know. Spice. Thanks, Todd. All right. Next up, what do we got going on here? Let's do a quick recap of a Learn guide. So let me go to learn.adafruit.com. This is something I showed last week. The Learn guide, I don't believe, was out yet. So if you head to Learn, you will see there is now a Fruit Jam chyron. That's the video overlay guide right here. You'll see I've just got a 2-frame GIF there of showing before and after the blue screen of the Fruit Jam is being keyed out. Click on that there. You can see our very good friend Lars, who is hosting a QVC style show where he's selling you a fruit jam, and we can see the little running ticker at the bottom of product name and the current price and the stock. So when I shot these screenshots last Friday, we had 67 of them in stock. So there's an example of it I did on a show and tell there, where instead of Lars, you got this guy. That is a little video demo you can check out from Show and Tell. A little history on the word chyron I mentioned there. The company, I forget what their original name was, something vague like Systems Incorporated, but they, in the 60s they were incorporated in this. A couple years later they got in trouble with another company called Chyron because they had spelled it C-H-I-R-O-N. So they wanted that name, they changed it to C-H-R-Y-O-N. They are one of the biggest companies in that video overlay real-time broadcast graphics, and so the word has become fairly genericized to mean a lower thirds ticker or graphic and text sort of thing. You can check it out, look up the Wikipedia on that if you're interested. So this one is straightforward. All we've got parts-wise, let me go back here, is our fruit jam, which does just about everything, including, as someone had mentioned last week, the incorporation of the ESP32, I think it's C3 or C6 on there as a Wi-Fi coprocessor or airlift coprocessor. It's really cool because the fruit jam runs off of an RP2350, which does not have wireless. So we jump over to that chip to do the wireless transactions and grab data in real time. So this is not just a text overlay, which you could do in most live streaming software, compositing software, but this is grabbing data every 12 seconds in this case, which is the limit before the Adafruit product API will get mad at us. Goes, grabs info, and updates that. You can show here I've got the, I don't know where I put the one I had sitting right here, but I've got the, here it is, little HDMI capture, HDMI to USB capture, so that you can put that in. There are all sorts of flavors and varieties of this. This is one of the least expensive ones, but it seems to work quite well. HDMI cable to plug that in, and then the USB-C cable to get power and data to the Fruit Jam. So that's all you'll need, and then in the Code the Fruit Jam section, got a little setup there on how to get your Fruit Jam up and running with CircuitPython, sorry, in the Install CircuitPython section. Then Code the Fruit Jam, we've got the project bundle. If you're not familiar with these, by the way, on most Adafruit Learn guides, there will be at least one embedded item which says Download Project Bundle. You can see it right there. If you click that, you're going to get a zip file that will contain usually, I think, 3 folders in it, and 2 of those will be for versions of CircuitPython. Is there a 3rd folder? I can't remember, but in this case, we'll go with CircuitPython 10. Within there will be not only the code.py that you need and any additional assets, but also a directory full of the up-to-date libraries that you need. So it makes it really easy to just drag all that stuff over to the CircuitPy drive and get up and running quick. And then I've got Code Explainer, which tells you how this works. This is Tim, by the way, Tim Foamy Guy's code that we're running here, and hopefully I've done it justice in the explanation there. And then I've got a little setup and usage. So here you've got just what are you plugging in. I picked OBS as the demo. I use Wirecast as my main broadcast, but sometimes I use OBS if I just need a virtual camera to join a call of some kind. It'll present OBS as a webcam, but then you can still do compositing and other transitions and transforms and effects and things. So chose that. It's free, it's open source. A lot of people use it, and all you really need in this case is 2 layers, whatever video coming off of my webcam, in this case of me or Lars, and then the second camera, which is that USB HDMI converter will show up as a camera, and 1 filter. So adding a color key or chroma key, depending on the software, that will allow you to pick that blue and knock that out, but still see the black and the white of the text. And then during the broadcast, I show an example of the button 1 on the Fruit Jam. Each time you press that, we can take off the outline around the text, move the text, add the outline back in, and get it right off the screen, just as this GIF is showing, and then that'll repeat there. So that button lets you cycle through some things you might want to do. Anne Barella asked, as we were working on this Learn guide, she was going through and reviewing it and doing moderation, and she said, hey, can we pick other fonts for this? And so I believe there's a PR right now. Foamy guy, Tim, went and added support, or made it a little more obvious. The support was there in the FruitJam library, which is like a high-level library for FruitJam stuff, to made it a little more obvious, put in a user variable for picking a different font. Mentions that no guarantees a different font will fit the screen properly. This screen position stuff in this project was optimized for this sort of default terminal font that we're using there. And that is it. Yeah, so that's the project. But you can adapt this to your own needs. The code should be fairly straightforward for what you would do to change the source of the data that you're bringing in from a JSON, how to change positions and fonts and all that stuff will be in the next version of that software. All right, let's see. Dan the Geeks mentions it'd be nice to show a QR code in the chyron for product displays. That's a neat idea, yeah. I like that. I actually have, yeah, I do that during my Tuesday show. There's actually a QR code generator inside Wirecast that I use just for whatever URL the product is. I show that. Very nice. Yeah, Andy Callaway mentions a fixed width font is probably going to fit. If you get apples to apples size-wise, it should work properly. Once you get something that's got irregular kerning or widths, then you'll start to wander off the screen or move to the center. Okay, so that is the Learn Guide there. And now next up, let's dive into some of this juggling ball stuff. So here's where we are so far. I've got, go to the down shooter here. Let's take this off the screen. Sorry, Spice Invaders. Move that to there. And put me in the corner there. Hello, me. So, where is my little focus? Focus is pretty good. Okay, so we've got a chunk of electronics here. We've got these parametric juggling balls that I designed in Rhino and Grasshopper so that I can print off these tennis ball style two-section juggling balls that we can put our electronics into. These are now, I've printed them with a translucent translucent filament. And you can see I also added some of this fuzzy wall stuff. I'm using Bamboo Studios, and the latest version allows you to essentially paint like a texture map. You can paint on your object where you want fuzzy and where you want smooth. So I just put fuzzy on all of the panels here on the exterior, and that gives it a much nicer texture for gripping when juggling. So what I wanted to do was allow for interactivity with these juggling balls so that we can have a ESP32 S2 or S3 communicate to other balls, other juggling balls, communicate with each other, or to a hub, which is I'm using a feather board, all using ESPNow. And ESPNow is this lovely lightweight protocol that's at 2.4 gigahertz, but does not require hubs and all the overhead of Wi-Fi, but it's using that same radio frequency range, and allows for sort of peer-to-peer, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one types of communications. So this all built right onto the ESP32 chip on there, can talk to, in my case, the hub back there. And I'm using an accelerometer, which you can see right there, a little List3DH accelerometer plugged in over Stemma QT, I2C. And that's using the tap detection. So it can just tell essentially when I catch it or if I throw it pretty hard. So ideally, I'm going to use this just on the catch, keep it simple. You can shake it or knock it. It'll do the same thing. It'll register a hit, and then it will send a message out to anyone that's listening in the sort of little peer-to-peer network of ESPNow devices and say, hey, I just triggered an event. What that event is up to other code. So on the feather over here, I have some code that says if I get a trigger event off of this ball, ball 1 or A, it's going to play a MIDI note, and it's going to play MIDI note 60. And then I'll have another one that'll play maybe MIDI note 62 and another play MIDI note 65. Then I can do with that what I want, put samples on that, anything on the sound side of it. It's not dependent on these. These are really just saying, hey, I got triggered. The other thing I've got going on is a NeoPixel BFF here, a little add-on plugged in there, and a little NeoPixel strip, so I can wrap this around like this just to make a neat little package. So this is going to light up the ball. I have it lit up all the time, in this case blue to match the shell I'm putting it in. And then on a trigger event, it's going to flash red, just that we know something happened. In other words, to quote John Nodge, you can bop it, shake it, and throw it. Those are all things you can do. So the third thing I have, fourth thing. So I've got CircuitPy here. I've got the NeoPixel BFF here. Just makes it easy to plug in a NeoPixel, no added soldering. These have this JST connector I can plug in. I have the List3DH accelerometer, and then at the very sort of top of the stack back here, I have a LiPo power BFF. I love this. The reason, I can plug in a nice little LiPo battery in here. This is a 400 milliamp battery, so pretty beefy considering the size. Fits pretty neatly between things there, having extended the headers a little bit. And it has an on-off switch on it. And it charges over USB-C. So I can, or rather it charges over whatever it's plugged into, in this case this CircuitPy. So I plug in this CircuitPy, it'll charge, and I can flip this switch on. You'll see it start up, it lights up. Let's wrap this around like this. And then if I tap it, you'll see it flashes there. And that's because it triggered an event which sends out the I've triggered something and does a little local flash. If I turn on my receiving synthesizer, actually a sample playback, so you should be able to hear. Actually triggering a couple samples there, a bass, little sort of bass note, as well as a little snare drum, and it's got some echo on it. So that is the sort of foundational version of the project. Now, as we refine this and add more to it, what I want to do is, first of all, there's a feature of the BFF, the little power BFF, the LiPo charging BFF, which is it can report on battery levels over a pin, over pin A2. So I haven't added code for this yet, but I could start to occasionally send maybe every, I don't know, 20th time I trigger this, also send along the battery info. Or if it doesn't seem to slow anything down, just always send the battery info. Which means my feather back here, I can have a little, I'm going to use a TFT version of this feather, will have a display for battery health, just so you know how long. Maybe I'll characterize it so that we know at like this kind of brightness level, we've got X many minutes or hours of use, which is pretty helpful for something, a prop you're going to use for a performance. You kind of want to know what's the battery life like. That's one of the most stressful things of using electronics in a performance. So the other thing we can do is send coordinated lighting control. So we could say, hey, let's every 2 measures of music send a color change to all the balls, or some pattern among them. We can also do things, I've seen other light-up interactive juggling ball projects over the years where people have done things like communicate among the balls so that the one that's in the air is one color, and the ones that are not that are in your hands are a different color, and so like the one that's thrown always turns red, that sort of thing. So we can communicate that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go as in depth as some projects I've seen which try to determine the pattern, the throwing pattern, based on probably learning. But I'm not going to bother with anything like that. There's a Cornell paper, a Cornell University paper about that, and some other examples. I saw one at Maker Faire a decade ago that was by I think a Swedish mathematician or a Norwegian mathematician, same sort of thing. So there's more out there to do, but you could do it all. The fact that we have accelerometer and nice lightweight communications kind of means you can do what you want with this. So I want to talk now a little bit about this design. I'll do a little juggling demo. Again, I'm not a great juggler, but I like to at least put my money where my mouth is and do some juggling. So I have a little ring in here. This is actually a bit of a placeholder for a PCB. I wanted to figure out the size if I were to make a PCB that fits right in there. It does give me a kind of nice place to stuff the electronics right now. So let me go back to the down cam view here and try to make my wobbly camera stay put. There we go. I should just replace this, but the fact that I kind of got it working with a piece of wire holding it up makes me not want to. So this will just fit in here like so. You can see there when it takes a hit. Much brighter hot spots, by the way, on this little camera. If I drop this to more like what I'm seeing, it's more like that. And yes, there's definitely hot spots because I just have a strip of 10 neopixels that are haphazardly placed against the edges. That said, if I go, let me go back to that view over there and adjust my lighting a bit. No, wrong way. I'm just going to set my exposure quite low so you can see this. And I'll turn the speaker back on. Kill some of these lights too. There we go. So now you can see, looks pretty good. There's still definitely hot spots on there from the ring. But the catch, whoop, the catch is where you're going to see it turn red. I'm trying to catch it with an open hand. I think I have a delay in there that I need to adjust because I was debouncing stuff aggressively at one point. So I don't think it'll trigger more than once every second or 3/4 of a second or something right now. But it's pretty responsive. So that moment that I catch it, I see the red and I hear the change there. So here's here's, you probably can't see them, but I've got a couple of, let me turn on that light there. I've got a couple of regular bean bags there. And what I wanted to do actually is play a little backing track on that same synth so that hopefully you can hear this. And my apologies, I didn't have time to run it into my mixer, but hopefully you can hear this. I'll play. And what I found practicing with this is it's very hard to actually juggle on the beat. It's much easier to juggle right off the beat. Something about the catch is where I have to catch it versus the throw, but I'll try. So very tricky. Not sure what to do about that. That might just be a practice thing. I have seen Jay Gilligan is an amazing juggler, world-class juggler, do a similar thing, and he seems to have figured out how to catch right on the beat in order to play the music the way he wants. Sorry. And hopefully you can hear that. I have no idea if that's being picked up on my little mic here, so pretend it sounded awesome in case you couldn't hear it at all. All right, I'll stop there. Steve says hi-hats on the ball. That's a good idea. Looks like the size and shape of a NeoPixel ring PCB. Yeah, that was also a thought on that, and I don't think I'm going to go with that because I want to show you in a second here. But it may be worth trying. Is just putting a NeoPixel ring in there. Do I have one over here? Here's one. I think is a little small. Let's see. Yeah, I think we have a size 1 bigger than that would work better. So that little 16 or whatever that is a little small. I don't think I have a bigger one right there. Frankly, this would be an amazing project for the Circuit Playground Express if it were an ESP32 one. Hint, hint, Lamore, that would be really cool. Because we've got the ring of NeoPixels and accelerometer, and we just are missing wireless on it. So this is meant to be you can build it from a Learn guide without any extra parts, and it's all Adafruit stuff. Let me show, turn that down. Let me show you what that circuit diagram looks like, and then explore the little stack of parts that I used to do it. So let's go. How about this view here and this right here? Okay, so that is essentially what I have. There's not a good way to diagram these because the boards go kind of belly to belly for 2 of them, and the other is a stack. But this is just showing I've got the list3dh on stemma QT over here. I wanted to make sure I remembered that A2 is the pin that I'll be coding for the battery life. So this is the QT up top. Under it, folded under there, is going to be that BFF, and also actually kind of sandwiched in between those is this NeoPixel BFF. So that is how this came to be right here. Let me turn this off. Which is a QT plugged into a stacky header so that we can have the space for the battery. And then that stacky header is actually soldered into the NeoPixel BFF right there. I'm actually using just some of our little U-glue adhesive to stick the list3dh on there. There's not a good, I didn't come up with a good mounting solution for that, but I think that works fine. That means I can't unplug this easily right now though, but that is regular headers, the female headers upside down on the LiPo BFF to make that little stack there. I may check, I think probably all these parts, the Ruiz brothers have made CAD versions of them, so I should be able to do like a little exploded diagram to put in the guide that shows it in 3D. So that is sort of easy to build version from parts that we have. I wanted to show you though, I also have put together a version that's going to be easier for me to make, a bunch of them, which is on a circuit board. So this is one big difference here is that I'm not using the NeoPixel BFF, and instead I'm using 2 of our little breadboard friendly neopixels, and the idea behind that is to put together a PCB like this, which has some of the parts on the top, some on the bottom, can route them any way I need, and one neopixel, oh, I think I moved a neopixel, there we go. One neopixel on the top side and one neopixel on the bottom side, so that those are at the center of that ball there, shining up, down, and getting a bit of a, they'll be a little higher than the other parts, so they'll get a little bit of a spread there, hopefully. I haven't been able to test it yet, I'm waiting on the PCBs, but just putting a light in there at the center and testing it so far has looked pretty good. So this is what that looks like in 3D JLC's PCB Gerber checker. So top side here has the CircuitPy and the accelerometer. A lot of times if you're doing accelerometer stuff, you'll want to try your hardest to put the chip at the center. If you're doing any of this kind of 3D movement stuff, I'm not. I'm literally using it just for the tap detection, or maybe also the gravity hang time type of thing. So it doesn't actually need to be at the center, and this was much more convenient for me to put neopixel in the middle here, neopixel in the middle here, rotated 90 degrees from each other. So those are actually shipped. I sent these off to get built a couple days ago. What I did before I sent for those was printed it on paper. So this is my mock-up, verify that things are going to work. This is actually one version older, so you can see the silk screens are not the same there, but put a bunch of holes around the edges to make it easier to potentially connect it to stuff, maybe the 3D ring that's in there. But this is 60 millimeters, and this is 59 point something for that lip, so that should fit into there and stay in place. You can see there I've got breadboard friendly neopixel. These will be, I think, I may put these lower and just get rid of the plastic spacers and solder them from underneath. So I may get all these parts really flush to the board and just have the neopixel proud of it. If that matters, it might not. I can try it a couple of ways. And then on the bottom side of it, I've got the LiPo BFF. Sorry, that focus is not great. There we go. I've got the LiPo BFF. I won't have all of these header pins here, so I'll have a place to actually stick the battery. So it should set right there. I could use some of these holes for like a zip tie for the battery, or more likely I'll use adhesive, one of our little U-glue squares. And then there's the other neopixel. So that is where that's at. I will put that, I'll put an add-on page at the end of the guide with instructions for ordering that PCB if anyone wants it, and a link to the Gerber files and any other CAD files that people want. So that will make it a lot easier to just solder some parts down without adding these header pins and things, and potentially give me a better look with just a single pixel glowing the thing. I'm not looking for rings and chases and stuff like that. Let's see, any questions on that or thoughts? Todd says that ESP32 S3 Playground would be pretty sweet. Okay, Chyron asks, would I need some weights to balance things out? Not really. I think the balance does not have to be super precise on this sort of juggling ball. In fact, the kind of juggling, I don't have them here, which kind of juggling ball that I've also used is called a Russian style ball, and it's got sand in the bottom of it, or silicon oil in the bottom of it, to give it a sort of off-center balance so that it actually kind of sticks a little better to your hand when you grab it. Those are not the same as this, having weights different in it, but that's to say you can juggle weird stuff pretty well that that has this is not very heavy. We'll see. I haven't actually weighed to see what total weight I'm at with that plus that, but it feels like slightly light compared to a typical, like, this type of juggling beanbag. A little bit light, but not really far outside of it. So I think we're close. One thing, Steve, that I was thinking was that putting some parts on the bottom and some parts on the top may sort of even that out, but you might be catching it like this or who knows what way. So anyway, we'll see. What else? That is it, I think, for that that PCB and the juggling project where I'm at with it. So last thing I wanted to do, let me mess with the lighting again, camera exposure. The other thing I wanted to do was take a look at this super lovely Manfrotto monopod that I picked up and talk about it a little bit and clean it up a bit. So let me head over there and I'll fix that focus. You can see I got some soapy water and a toothbrush and some other stuff over here. Let me turn this light on. There we go. And I'll come out a bit more. Try to focus there. You should be able to see it. So this is a, let me open up Discord over here. There we go. So this is a, I don't know when this was made. It's a Manfrotto designed, sold by Bogan, made for Bogan. It's the 3249B. Helpful for looking it up and looking at like parts explosion and so on. There's some other numbers on there. Made in Italy. And so this is a 3-section monopod that's got little sort of quick locks on there, and it opens up to, I don't know, about 5 feet or so. Quite high, and it came with a really nice little ball head swivel. Screws on there, and then you can put your camera on there and take some stabilized shots, or something I like to do with this is make a inexpensive drone shot type of thing. You can get these way high up, pointed down. There's no stabilization or anything, but I've tried it with, I have a nice little, where is it? It's not here. I have a nice little cage for my iPhone that fits on a tripod, and I put it up there, tilted the ball head down, and took some neat overhead shots just walking around with the video mode. Those iPhone video stabilization is kind of incredible. So anyway, the main thing I wanted to do here was just pull it apart and clean it up, because you might not have heard it, but as I open these, I hear grit. And I don't love that, and I can see it kind of scratched up a little bit here where that's happening. So I think it'll be pretty simple to open up and clean out. I grabbed a socket that I think is, what is this one? I don't know what size you are. 5/16. So 5/16 happens to loosen this top nut on here, which is what clamps each of these quick locks to the leg above it. So if I pull this one and let's get those into a tin over here. Allow me to pull that out, and I just, you know, there was gravel or sand. I think someone took this to the beach. That definitely looks like sand. I don't know if orientations matter a ton, but essentially this Bogan logo lines up with all of the quick locks, so that's how I'll try to reassemble that. But yeah, if we look in there, there's just a bunch of sand. Someone took this to the beach, I think. So next one. I will probably leave these springs alone. They could, I might clean them off a little bit. I don't think, I'll try to avoid pulling apart more than I have to because they work. I can clean off a little bit of corrosion and rust off of those nuts and bolts here. Yeah, Steve, okay, Steve is a photographer, and I was hoping you'd yell at me if I do anything terrible as I'm doing this, because you've probably done this before. But Steve says orientation won't matter, so that's good. So let's take the, let's see, do I need to or care about opening this? Not really. No, I'm going to leave that as is. I don't want to have to make more work for myself. So that one I'll leave alone. And I'll pull this next leg out of here. Will it come out? It will. All right. And same with this one here. Crunch. All right. So now we've got, yeah, all this sand to wipe off of here. And I may, after the show, just blow these out with an air compressor to try to get, I don't have like a long enough cleaning rod or something like that to get into the barrel there and clean it out. But if you, a couple things you can do with these, of course, you can just use it to stabilize. You can kind of make yourself a tripod by locking in your elbows, set this down, wide stance on your legs, and then if your video or film needs some stabilization, you've got a telephoto or something like that, that can help. You can also do some neat sort of compound moves by, if you have a better fluid head than this on here, but you can move the tripod while countering with the head on it. You can do some interesting moves. You can also extend these, not all the way, but they'll give you a nice counterweight, sort of like a Steadicam-ish kind of thing. Better is you put a weight plate that equals the camera down at the bottom, and then you can kind of run with it, and it just reduces some of the vibration. In fact, I built one of those way back on the Make television show that we did on PBS that was just made from some pipes and like a 10-pound or 5-pound weight plate. Mount the camera on top, and you can kind of run, and it just, the inertia keeps it from wanting to bounce as much as a lightweight camera does, so it just gives it a little heft. All right. Yeah, there's a ton of sand in there, so I don't think you'll be able to see that, but I'll leave this as is. Wait, I've got a nice little light here. Let's try to shine that up through. Want to see a whole bunch of grit? There you can see all that. See all that junk in there? Yeah, I'm gonna get the air compressor out and really blow that out, and maybe pull a small rag through with a string or something like that. So I don't think I'll finish this up on air. You can get for these, this just has a little rubber foot. There's also a foot that has a little spike on it for different types of material that you might want to stick that down onto to keep it from sliding. But other than that, that's it. It's going to go back together. It's in good shape. It's got, it's missing some cork or rubber or felt to make that interface with the bottom of a camera a little nicer. This has some dried out cork there, but I'd probably just leave that alone. That screws in like that. And then this is a nice little head here. It's this Bogan 3262, also made by Manfrotto. It's a quick lock kind of thing, either open or closed, and has some nice friction to the little head there and a little tripod mount. And so then you can just get that at an angle that you need. You can go sideways with it. The whole thing pivots. You can get that out of the way of the quick locks, and if you're shooting vertically, you can go from the side there. So that was my cool sidewalk find, and maybe I'll do some cool photography or video with that to share. All right. Yeah, Andy Calloway says one of those gun cleaning barrel kits, the little thread together ones, would be good to shove through there. I thought Discord would block that, yeah. All right, so that's my thing of the week there. And I think we'll wrap it up. Let me just check the chat. Yeah, Starman says, wad up small something, rag. Yeah, small rag, stuff it in the tube and blow it through to clean it out. Wipe it down and pull the gunk. Very gritty. Water pressure through it, and then WD-40 or similar lubrication, says John Hodge. Yeah, lubrication maybe. I don't know if it'll even need lubrication. WD-40 is not lubrication, by the way, just to help with people who might use. WD-40 will help dissolve stuff, but you do want oil after it. Although I think they probably make lube now because everyone thought it was lube. Does Manfrotto have a cleaning guide? That's a good question. So if we jump over here, I found, while this one says silver monopod, this is the Bogan 3249 monopod identification web page. I think they meant black on this one, and this is the one that has a narrow flange. So that's the one I have. So here I can see all the different parts that were made up of it. And you can get to this not super helpful diagram. It is missing the wrist strap, but it just looks like a piece of nylon strap with a buckle on it, which I guess if you're using it like a walking stick or something you could care about. There it is. There's the ASM belt wrist strap SKU 000171 if you were a completist, but I'm not spending $11.99 on a wrist strap for a free monopod. So this is the spike foot. That's what it was called. Little spike foot you could get at the bottom there instead of the little rubber one that I have on there, which is snazzy, but I don't need it. And that's it. Dry lube, Andy Calloway mentions. There used to be a product called Dry Lube. It was like soft wax. All right. I think that's it on that. Let's get out of here, shall we? Before I go, I will mention once again, if you want to save a little bit of money in the Adafruit shop, Jughead is your coupon code. Go, buy stuff, build things, save money. I believe we'll have a deep dive with Foamy Guy tomorrow, Friday. And then I'll be back on Tuesday with a product pick of the week. There may be, I'm not sure, there may be Ask an Engineer type and Desk of Lady Ada type activities over the weekend, so stay tuned. And then there will be a 3 Hangout Wednesday morning, Show and Tell Wednesday evening, followed by Ask an Engineer. Thanks everyone so much for stopping by. For Adafruit Industries, this has been John Park's Workshop. I have been John Park. I plan to continue to be John Park. Bye-bye.
Thank you.